So today we're going to be talking about the culture wars going on in America right now and why it is so important, okay? Welcome back to the Freedom Pines podcast. I'm your host, Jamie A.B. This is where we debrief and discuss pop culture and politics from an independent perspective. And if that interests you, don't forget to like, comment, subscribe, hit that notification bell, and share this with your friends because it's hard to get my name out in Commie Canada. So let's get into it. So guys, I'm not going to lie to you. I have a headache right here, okay? And that could mean maybe three things. That I'm getting sick because my husband is homesick today and he never stays homesick. So he must be really sick, okay? Number two, I took a you-know-what in 2021 and the end is coming, okay? The end is near. Or, I don't even know what the third could be. Those are the two options that I have. But either way, that's where I'm coming from today. So if I don't show up tomorrow, it is because I am very sick. And the headache is right here, okay? Let me know. Feels like it might be my sinuses, honestly. I have no idea. But it's really fun to just be walking a tightrope every day. Anyways, let's get into it. I meant to say tightrope. Did I say tight? I don't know. My brain's not there. Either way, okay. First of all, this clip of Ben Shapiro saying that you don't deserve to be able to afford an affordable home where you live, move elsewhere, very out of touch. The amount of things that Ben Shapiro has said that have made him out of touch entirely. One time he said, not one time, this is something that him and Matt Walsh say quite often, and it's that people don't deserve to retire at 65, and there should be no reason why people should be able to deserve to retire, says the man who talks for a living. That's really interesting because if we look at Jordan Peterson, maybe Jordan Peterson should have taken time to retire and enjoy his last remaining years, and instead he's very sick. So if there's one person you could maybe learn from, Ben Shapiro, it's Jordan Peterson. We are not, I truly don't think we're meant to live like this our whole lives. I'm not a leftist where I think, everybody should just not work. No, I think back to hunter-gatherer times. You're always going to be working. However, are you going to be doing the same thing here? Just to, why should my husband have to work in a logging mill his whole life and risk getting cancer until then? Ben is so out of touch with how people actually live their lives and what the real problems that people go through are. And it's just become so apparent, especially with it seems like this deliberate attempt from the two sides of the right in America to destroy one another. And I'm not going to lie, the left does it as well. Okay, the left, Hassan Piker came out and said, I hate leftists, I hate socialists, blah, 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 blah. You guys are insufferable, as if he didn't teach them the insufferable behavior and normalize the insufferable behavior himself. And here's the thing. I watch Nick Fuentes. I watch far left people, far right people, okay? I watch Nick Fuentes. And it really makes me miss Charlie Kirk, okay? Because Nick Fuentes seems to genuinely not like women. Okay, and for some reason, this man calls himself a Christian. However, it is biblical to treat your wife properly, Nick. Okay, God does want you to procreate. God's entire mission for us, if you believe in the Bible, is to procreate and get married. And he's like, I can't believe Tucker Carlson sits there and says that all you have to do is love your wife and love your kids and, blah, blah, blah. That's pathetic. And then he's like, being a man is playing video games. Listen, there's nothing wrong with playing video games, okay, here and there. However, it does become addicting and it does give your brain like false rewards, you know what I mean? It's just like how a lot of women will get, excited when they look at their story and see certain people liking it or however many likes they get on their Instagram posts. I personally hate it. I hate I hate looking at who looked at my story. It really freaks me out. I have no idea why I have the complete opposite, but I don't want to know who liked my post. I don't want to know who didn't like my post. I don't want to know how many people liked my post. And it's always freaked me out. But I have seen people, like my friends, look at their stories constantly to see how many people looked at it and stuff like that. So I know that people do get dopamine from things like that. And that's the idea of video games. You know what I mean? So I don't entirely agree with Nick Fuentes on that, but I also don't agree with Matt Walsh and Ben Shapiro and all of the conservative commentators who say that adults shouldn't have hobbies. As long as you're doing your adult duties, you know what I mean? Who the hell are you guys to tell people that people shouldn't have hobbies? In fact, that keeps people's brains going. It's actually really good for people to have hobbies and do things that they love that don't involve a screen. Sometimes I have no idea the things that they think that they're promoting that are going to be a good thing. You want people to have hobbies. I'd rather my husband have a hobby than go out to the bar and drink or go with his Daily Wire friends and smoke cigars. Okay, I'd rather him dirt bike. I really would, okay? And all of a sudden, something I noticed was as soon as Trump got in, I honestly stopped listening to a lot of people because they did seem bought for, okay? It did seem like they were just, Trump no matter what. And the thing is that Trump definitely does stuff that I disagree with, but I don't have Trump derangement syndrome. And I will say, I watch Candace Owens, okay? People might think I'm crazy for that, but I can listen to Candace Owens and not worship her or look at her like an idol. I can tell when Candace is being Candace, okay? I can tell when she's being a little bit abrasive, and I can tell exactly the moments where she's going to be in trouble, and I can see where her bias shines through. Okay, I will say that I have no problem with her doing what she's doing. Okay, people keep saying, oh, she's grifting off of Charlie's name. The day Charlie died, he made a video about Irina, the girl who was unalived on the subway. Understandable. Horrible situation. He monetized it. That's fine. That's the way of the game, okay? I went to go find that to prove to people that this is just how it goes. And I noticed that almost every single day, after like 3 days of Charlie being gone, his friends have done a live stream almost every single day on his channel. And there are people out there saying, oh, Candace is using Charlie's name. If I am gone, okay, I have a video I want on all my platforms and one last post that my husband will post. But other than that, I wouldn't want anybody to use my podcast. I think it's unfair that they use Charlie's podcast. I think that they should just use the Turning Point USA's YouTube channel. It has a ton of subscribers, and I have no idea why they don't do that. But whenever people tell me not to listen to somebody, I'm going to listen to them. And here's the thing. I can be critical of anybody and everybody, okay? I can see the bias come through with most people. And Candace Owens is no exception to that. I can see Candace's biases and, agree with her in some places and disagree with her in others. And I'm thankful for that. And I really don't appreciate when people tell me not to listen to people, okay? That's what led me to listening to Nick Fuentes, who is, by the way, he's hilarious. I'm not denying that Nick Fuentes is funny. However, okay, he is definitely not Charlie Kirk. Like, he is not... Charlie Kirk wanted to have direct dialogue with pretty much everybody but Nick Fuentes, unironically. But Charlie was all for living out a biblical life, okay? As in having a wife, having kids, and not only that, but being about it. We see all of the clips that we see Charlie and Erica together. Charlie treats her like gold. Like, he's very, very kind. And I think he was just such a good influence on young conservative men. And Nick Fuentes he's not as good of one, okay? And he does not admit that he's wrong about anything. He actually gets mad at Tucker Carlson for saying something like, oh, like I said, I care about my wife, blah, blah, blah. He's like, oh, you're so pathetic. No, he's not. That is a good thing. That is actually biblical. So anyway, and then you have on the left, all of the Democrats who were outed for taking money. Hassan Piker shocking his dog. Okay, because you can do most things on the left, but hurting animals is where they definitely draw the line. And a lot of people are sick and tired of the Democrats that are on TikTok, and it just seems like America is in disarray, and I have no idea what the goal of this would be, but it has a direct impact on politics, as we have seen with Mandani being elected as mayor of New York. I think it's very interesting, though, seeing Donald Trump and Mandani meet at the White House. That was kind of crazy to me. I don't know. Tell me your thoughts on that. And I honestly feel that now more than ever, people are listening to more independent voices, people who are able to call out their own side if they're doing, not so great things. Because I watched Elevate's podcast yesterday about Lauren Sutherland and that scenario with the Russia. I need to look into it more. And I will say, since Trump has been in, I have been so critical and, skeptical, there's the word, about who I follow, what I listen to. And while I can dissect everything that I'm listening to, it was just very disappointing to see, like, even when Charlie Kirk was going to Iceland on behalf of Trump, I thought that was crazy. Because there's not times in Canada where an unelected official would go on behalf of Canada, something like that. I don't know, unless it's Chrystia Freeland and her special envoy to Ukraine. Another video for another day. And I will say that this all matters because it felt like before Trump was in, everybody knew the left was on the left, the right was on the right, and there was no divide. It seems like there is an even more divide between the lefts and the rights in America. And I don't know if you guys have noticed that, so let me know. However, why this matters so much to someone like me is because when I started listening to conservative voices, there weren't as many women conservative voices out there. So I was listening to American women conservative podcasters. And when the messages, I appreciate listening to people who have an independent voice, okay? However, it seems like there's just no goal to the end anymore. And it seems like people, especially on the right in America, they're just complaining about the most random left. They're acting like leftists all of a sudden. I have no idea. And that's very confusing for people who probably left the Democrats because of the way people acted when Charlie Kirk died. And when they go to the Republican side, and that side is a disarray, then we probably have a lot of politically homeless people. I know we have a lot of politically homeless people in Canada. However, our conservatives haven't had a chance to be in to let us down. So we do have a lot of people who are for the conservative. And I think that's why the right on Canada has stayed united, while I'll let you know that the left hasn't, especially with Mark Carney and his billionaire ways. A lot of the NDP left-leaning people are very upset with the people who seem to be crusading for Mark Carney and calling themselves leftists on TikTok. So for now, I think the culture wars are safe in Canada. However, America seems to be falling apart at the seams. So you guys tell me your thoughts and opinions, okay? What podcasters from America do you guys listen to? I listen to Joe Rogan. I wouldn't call him conservative at all. I don't know that hit piece and why people call him far right. And by the way, I hope that I can be that space for women to go to. And I will say that I have had a lot of women secretly or DM me secretly saying, hey, I listened to you from afar. Thanks for doing what you do. I can't even subscribe to you because if people see I'm subscribed, then they'll yell at me. So I am somewhat of a safe space, to quote the left, for people to come and listen to a different point of view, which is so important in Canada because there's actually, I mean, there's Jasmine Lane and Kelsey, I can't remember, Sherman, I believe, who are probably the two main women, and obviously Northern Perspective is, husband and wife team, and their names are slipping my thoughts, even though I watch them every single day. But yeah, what's one more to add to the list? Anyways, guys, so if I'm not here tomorrow, it is because I have a raging headache and I am sick. However, hopefully I will see you tomorrow. If I don't, I will definitely post on the weekend and catch back up on my videos. But I will see you guys tomorrow. And just remember that you matter, okay? You are meant to be here, and may the odds be ever in your favor. Okay, let's take a deep breath. And tell me what you guys think of the culture wars. I just don't like the split so much. I appreciate Matt Walsh for trying to mend the rift, but I think it's broken, and I don't know how it's going to get fixed. So you guys let me know, and I will see you in the next one. Bye.